As we head into 2023, resellers really need to consider what they want for their business and how that aligns with actual eBay policy. So I want to talk to you about that on the other side. So without any further ado, let's go. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is John from Flippin' Ain't Easy. And in this video, I want to kind of talk about something I've spoken about before on this channel, and that is sellers who think their own wants or their own internal business policies seem to override what eBay has put into their own policies for sellers to follow. And it kind of cracks me up, if I'm being honest, but it's also sad at the same time. Honestly, the goal when we're selling to our customers is to try to create a listing that makes them want to buy from us and not move on to the next seller. However, I come across posts all the time from sellers who post things like, I sold an item and the buyer wanted to return the item, and then eBay gave them their money back. So there's a portion skipped there, but eBay gave them their money back. I wrote this letter to the CEO of eBay and claimed that I was going to file a lawsuit, and I won the case. They gave me my money back. Well, I think there's some missing information there. And this is an actual post that I read the other day, and I did some looking, checking out this poster's account, the seller's account on eBay, and it's like, come on. If you look at this item description, in their item description they put excellent condition, and that's it about the item. Okay, that is all that they talk about in the item description. Okay, all they mention is excellent condition. I strive to be as accurate, transparent as possible. Well, your buyers don't care about that. I want my customers happy. Okay, and then you follow that up with, if item is listed as is, no refunds or returns accepted. All other listings I allow returns if item is not as described. They're accepted within 14 days of delivery in the United States, providing it's returned in the same condition as pictured. Refund will be issued minus original shipping charges and a $3 handling fee for shipping supplies for original packaging. Okay, now that's not the way eBay works. You may want a 14-day return period, but guess what? eBay mandates that not only, let's say you have a no returns policy, but if you do have a returns policy, you're dealing with 30 days, not 14. That's old time eBay, and maybe that worked for you back in the day, but that's not going to work anymore. Okay, so the idea that as a seller, you're going to maybe put one line about the item, and then you're going to go in and put multiple lines in some way in your mind that's going to protect you as a seller, it just doesn't work that way. In fact, the way it works is your potential buyer is going to be maybe scared off by that because they see all this and they wonder, well, why is this such a big deal? Now, in reality, I understand why sellers do this, okay? Because they want to paint a clear picture of what they want. Forget what eBay wants, because they've had a bad experience, at least one, maybe multiple bad experiences. But the reality is that most buyers are good people, most buyers are honest people, and most buyers are not going to want to return your item provided you've done your job as a seller and accurately describe the item that you're selling. Okay, so looking at listings like this, looking at sellers like this, they usually take one, maybe two photos. They don't take multiple angles. They don't do zooms, okay, and they don't really describe their item in the listing, and then they wonder why people want to return their item, because they don't do a good job from the jump to get the buyer an accurate description of what they're buying, okay, and then the buyer gets the item, they're disappointed, they want to return the item because they feel like it's not as described, and then the seller sits on it, and this is the biggest mistake. They sit on it and they don't act upon the return request, right? And guess what happens? They allow that return request to time out because you only get a few days to accept the return. and they think, I'll just ignore this because it's not in line with my own return policy. And then eBay gives them their money back, and now they're up in arms. Now, this particular seller sells like $5 or $10 items, and they took all that time to write a letter into the CEO. At least that's what they said. And they were so happy that they won the case. Well, I can tell you from a customer service perspective, when I worked in the call center and managed the call center, that there's certain individuals that have the authority to override policy on a case-by-case basis. Okay, they probably saw this. They probably figured it's not worth the $5 or $10 to, deal with this particular seller. So let's just give them their money back and move on, right? And that's kind of the mentality that a seller should have, really. We're spending a lot of time and effort trying to tell buyers why they can't return your item, and you're claiming you want the buyer to be happy, yet you're doing nothing and your policies aren't in line with that statement. So I think it's better to simply this. If we're selling on eBay as sellers, we have to not only understand eBay policy. Now, I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, but I think for our own sanity and our own sort of mentality moving forward, we should be focused on the things that we can change and we can control. One of those things we can't control is eBay policy. Yes, you can voice your opinion to eBay when they come asking for surveys and things like that, and that's good to do. But understand, if you're selling on eBay, you are a very, very, very small cog in the wheel. And if we're being honest with each other, eBay doesn't care about you as a seller, okay? You are a number. You are a number in a large scale of other online sellers. And if you drop off because you do not like their policy, eBay will not bat an eye, okay? So for you to fight eBay, okay, and put all these things in your listing, the bottom line is buyers who know better will know exactly how to get around your no return policy, will know that you as a seller have so many days to accept the return request. They know they're going to get their money back if you do not act within that time, and you are being stubborn as a seller if you decide, I'm just going to let this return request time out and then deal with eBay, because you're not winning. You're not winning at all. You're losing time. And it's better to accept the return. And I've talked about this to a lot of folks who send me emails, and they ask me, what should I do? And the first thing you should always do is acknowledge the return, okay? You may not like it. It may be a hit to you financially. It may sting. It may not feel good. But do not allow that return request to time out. Accept the return, okay? And if it requires you to provide a label, they're claiming it's not as described or whatever it is, well, fine. Accept the return. Deal with it when the item gets back to you. Now, you may not agree. They might say, hey, you sent me a green sweater. You sent them a red sweater, okay? So let's see what happens. Sometimes these buyers don't even follow through. They just accept it. They open the request. They never follow through. Maybe they forget. And after a period of time, their request times out because they don't send it back in a timely manner. And I know eBay gives people forever to send an item back, and that's not the subject of this particular video. It gets frustrating, but we as sellers have to understand and embrace what eBay policy is. So if you are going to continue on the path of having a no return policy, that's certainly on you. That's your business model, but understand the way the game works. See, it's eBay's game. They set the rules. If we choose not to play it, eBay doesn't get hurt. It's us as sellers who get hurt. The buyer gets taken care of because we know the buyer is protected by eBay. And the only way as sellers we are going to be protected by eBay, at least in eBay's eyes protected by eBay, is to play their game. And the more we push back by putting ridiculous things in the listing that don't even apply to eBay policy, you can't tell a buyer they have 14 days to open a return request. You just can't. That's not how eBay works. Technically, you're not allowed to take restocking fees from a refund. You're not technically able to take a handling fee from a refund, okay? Yeah, your packaging costs money. And I think the thought that we actually have to have is, and I think a lot of people don't realize this, at least enough people don't realize this, is that every expense, and I'm not a CPA, every expense that you incur when you run your business, that's supplies, shipping, bad returns. Let's say someone fraudulently, sends you back something different than what you actually sent them. That's a fraudulent return, and there's remedies to deal with that. But if you fail to maybe get all your money back or get yourself whole, from that transaction, guess what? At least the cost of goods for that item, you can write it off. You didn't lose anything at the end, because when you're writing all these expenses off against what eBay is reporting to the IRS and these other sites are reporting to the IRS, it helps your tax liability. Okay, and I'm not a CPA, like I said, but I can tell you that with all certainty. So it isn't an entire loss when you get defrauded. And the good news is, when you come across the bad buyer, they send you a faulty return, you have to come out of pocket for all these things. It is not a fun experience. It sucks. Okay, I can tell you from someone who, I accept eBay's policies, I deal with it, but it sucks. But at the end of the day, there is no alternative. We have to focus on the things that we can control, and what we can control is getting more listings up, getting more value in our store, right? Putting together better listings, not this garbage where you just put 2 words about the item and the rest is to try to maybe protect yourself as a seller. Bad idea. And you know what? If you continue to put listings together like this, if you're one of those sellers, you might do well, but you could do better, okay? And probably have the same amount of returns. There's a lot of people that have 30-day, 60-day returns out there, and they don't get a lot of returns because they stand behind their product, okay? And they give the buyer a reason in their item description by selling their item, by giving benefits to buy this item rather than give reasons why they should run away. So guys, just making this video, hopefully it resonates with someone out there. It's been on my mind over the last 24 hours. So I thought, you know what? I'll make a video on this. Even though I've made videos before in the past, it's something that hopefully one last time needs to be addressed. But if you enjoy this content, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and of course, hit that notification bell so when I go live or make another video, you're going to be notified. But I want to know what you guys think about this. What is your feelings about how some sellers seem to think that they can create their own policies somehow in their listings, and then they're up in arms when eBay gives the buyer a full refund because they didn't play by eBay's game? Want to know down below. So guys, hopefully I'll see you guys on the live here on Monday. But you know what? It's very important as sellers, as we head into 2023, we're trying to get our business in order. One of the last things you want to do as a seller is to push back on eBay. I know, look, I'm not an eBay apologist. I don't necessarily agree with eBay policy, but I have to understand and I have to realize, and I think most sellers should want to realize that we can't control that. If eBay wants to implement a policy that we don't agree with tomorrow, we can either choose to stay on the site and continue selling by those rules, or we can leave. And I realize that, and I think most serious sellers should realize that, so they don't have to deal with a lot of stress and just frustration because they don't agree. We can't control these policies, so let's focus on the things we can control, and that's running our business as efficiently as possible. But yeah, this is just another example of how sometimes flipping ain't easy, and I want you guys to have an excellent rest of your day, and we will talk to you very soon.